Hello guys, welcome to Daddy Share Space and welcome to my channel. So I meant to put up this footage before the video that I just uploaded, and basically I like to try to go in a sequential order of the things that I'm doing in my everyday life. So as many of you know, the water pump went out almost a year ago in this 1991 Saab, and I was having problems sourcing parts. And eventually, well, when I was about to give up, I ended up finding that there was one at Pick and Pull. And so I went out there, tinkered around on it. I put a video up about that not too long ago. And then it kind of reinvigorated me working on the car. And so here, this was, I believe, March 22nd. This is me going back and removing the gasket that I had made to try to seal up where the water pump was leaking, because it was very difficult to see down inside of the engine bay to see exactly where the water pump was leaking. And when I went out there to work on that car at Pick and Pull, I was able to kind of locate exactly what the issue was, which was the fact that I needed to put two rubber gaskets at a place where from the factory it only had one, and that sealed up where the leak was coming from, because the water pump actually has two different, well, it actually has three ways that it connects to the body of the car. There's the part that goes right onto the block, and then there's two rounded orifices that plug in at two different locations. I would assume would be intake and output of some type. And so on the smaller orifice was where I was having the problems. It was right behind the actual spindle where the belt runs. And so what I noticed when I was putting it in, when I would line the bolt holes up, it would dislodge the rubber gasket. And when I lined up the rubber gasket, the bolt holes wouldn't line up. In this particular video, I'm working on that, trying to, number one, scrape off all of the gasket that I made for myself, because I thought that's where it was leaking from. When I took the car apart, I didn't pay close enough attention to see if the car had a gasket where the water pump meets the manifold of the engine block. And so I was questioning myself. I was like, did it have a gasket? Did it not? And so that's when I went down a pathway of basically buying gasket kit, making my own, designing and making my own gasket. And when I put it on there, what it did, even though it wasn't that thick, it actually moved the water pump back further from where it was supposed to connect, because I was unable to see that the rubber grommet or the rubber ring that was on the smaller orifice, that it was not seated properly. And with one ring, it didn't work anyway, because when I ordered the water pump, it only came with that. It came with one ring for the bigger orifice and a smaller ring for the smaller orifice. And basically I had to tweak it in order to get it to work. I had to basically put that second O-ring on there, or rubber gasket on there, for it to be able to get enough compression to seal when I tighten it down. So one of the reasons why I share videos like this, I know I've had people in the past say, oh, I think I was changing oil on one of my vehicles and someone was like, oh, this is boring. And that's fine. I understand that. But for me personally, I find that a lot of things on YouTube is very fantastic. And what I mean by fantastic, I mean like, people are, traveling all around the world, or, going on amazing trips, or doing, very, very expensive things, if you will. And I know I'm one to talk. I have a lot of festival in my shop. But what I mean is, for me, I've tried to express in many different ways why you guys don't see my skills growing as fast as maybe someone else. And, as I've mentioned many times, I work a 40-hour-a-week job in a completely different profession, that being registered nursing. And I also have a wife, and I have 3 daughters. And so I have a lot of other things on my plate. And I've taken it upon myself to not only start a YouTube channel, but also do all my own filming, all my own editing. At one point in time, I was telling my wife that I wanted to make my own music. Sometimes I use music in my videos, and I can't remember the list or the actual music service that I use, but you have to pay either monthly or annually to put music into your videos without having to get copyrights. And so I even wanted to make my own music. So I bought the program Logic Pro for my Mac. I haven't got around to learning that yet. It's one of the reasons why I haven't, improved in SketchUp as well, because there's learning, or, like when you read and practice something, but then there's also, your real and regular life. Like, say, for instance, a few weeks back, I had to change out all the components in the toilet, or right here, me working on the car. These things take real time. It's not as though you get time in an alternate reality to be able to do the things you need to do. It all has to fit within your 24-hour, 7-day a week, 30, 31 plus day month, or 365-day year. And time is something that is definitely not infinite. And so I'm always scrambling and trying to figure out what is most important for that day. Sometimes I make the right choice, sometimes I make the wrong choice. But the reality of the matter is I try to keep myself busy. And so all the while I'm doing, auto repairs, I'm trying to learn how to get better at doing lawn maintenance, and fixing little things that go wrong around the house, like snaking drains. As a matter of fact, at this moment, as I said that, I remembered I have to go upstairs and snake the upstairs bathroom drain. I already had to do it for the garbage disposal up under the kitchen sink, but now I need to go up there and do that. I have some light bulbs that need to be replaced around the house, and it is always a constant flow of things that you need to do. And despite me having the money to buy, some high-end tools here and there, I don't have the money, or at least I'm not willing to go into debt to spend the kind of money that you would need to, say, like, if I was to pay for, a professional auto mechanic, or take my car into the shop, or if I was to pay someone to come in and help clean. Now, there are some liberties that we take, like, one of those being, we will call and have our groceries delivered. That has been somewhat helpful, but that comes with a whole list of problems, because at the end of the day, we order a lot of, like, say, fruits, primarily like strawberries and blackberries, and and different vegetables, and the people that pick those things, sometimes they'll just send you rotten food, and you have to call back in and get reimbursed, and it's just like a redundant thing, because not everybody puts quality in the work that they do. Some people just throw stuff together. Now, one of the reasons why we use that service is because obviously the Saab has been down for, now it's coming up on a year. It hasn't been a year, but it's coming up on a year that we've been down this vehicle. And if you just pay attention to the environment around us, at least here in America, I can't speak for other countries. Like right now, I bought my Saab for $2,000, I don't know, dang near, let's see, my oldest daughter is like, what, 13 or so? So basically about that time, because we bought it when she was born. And so essentially 13 or 14. So basically this Saab has lasted me for that long, with $2,000 out of the door for the car. Now, of course, I've done repairs on it over the years, and this is my second set of tires that I've put on the car. But other than me paying a little bit of money to try to get someone to fix the air conditioner on this car, of which they failed, I haven't paid a lot of money out of pocket, or nothing excessive. I don't pay for the professional level repairs, because at the end of the day, sometimes they can't even fix it. Like, that, I go back in my mind to when I had my 1995 Mazda Miata, and I broke the key off in the ignition, and I paid a locksmith to come out and get that repaired. And basically, he told me I just needed to get a new ignition. And so that would have meant that I would have had one key that worked to start the car, and another key that worked to open the trunk. And that was his solution. This is after me paying him. And just by me looking over his shoulder and watching him tinker about with it, I was able to conclude that all I needed to do was remove the ignition from the car, go to Pick and Pull, find another 95 Mazda Miata, remove the ignition cylinder, take out the innards, and switch the innards out, which is what I did. And then I did not have to solve the problem the way that a professional told me to do it. And I ended up only having one key as opposed to having two keys. And so I don't know if I just have bad fortune, but I tend to get that type of service from people. I've mentioned about how I, took my vehicles in to get the air condition fixed and it didn't get fixed, even though I'm paying someone that calls themselves a professional. And I don't, fancy just paying money out of my pocket over and over again and basically not getting what I expect in return. And so all kinds of experiences like this have led me to, you know, pushing myself to do the repairs myself. Now, as this Saab is getting older, I am starting to move deeper into auto repair, meaning doing jobs that I never have done before, i.e., like when I first bought this Saab, it had a water pump issue. So that was, about 12, 13 years ago or so. And we had bought a warranty, and so the water pump was replaced under that warranty, and it just went bad last May. So that's not bad. That's like, over a decade worth of driving off of that original water pump change, but I've never changed it myself. So this whole process was new for me. And if you guys don't know, I was out driving one day and all of a sudden the car just started, overheating and whatever. And I wasn't far from home. And I debated, do I drive home and possibly destroy it, or do I pull over and have it towed? I opted to go ahead and drive it home. And by the time I was getting home, it was making all kinds of strange noises and stuff. When I pulled up in front of the house, there was a whole bunch of steam that came off of the car. And but when I came back out to reassess it, it started up, but I noticed that it was pouring out, it was pouring out antifreeze. And so what I assumed happened is the water pump failed and the heat buildup basically destroyed the gasket, and the antifreeze had to come out in some way or form or another. At first I thought I had thrown a rod or something in the car, and that, basically that was why things was coming out, but there was no oil leakage or anything like that. It took me a while to basically find out what the exact problem was. And then it took me even longer to figure out how to actually do the repair, because it's kind of tricky. And when I was doing the repair, the tensioner for the belt broke, and I felt like, I might not be able to find that part, but I was able to find it. And when I bought it, it was like almost $200 just for that one tensioner part. So I bought that. I got that back installed on the car. And then once I got all that done and I put it back together, around that same time is when I built the gasket for it. And of course, it didn't solve the problem. So I just kind of set the car to the side because we were able to function as a household while I troubleshooted. And even though my eyes was open to look into buy another car, as I looked at the prices and I looked at, what was available in my area for like cash price, $5,000 and below. And remember, I bought my truck. It's a 2003 Dodge Ram 1500 for $5,500. And I bought that a long time ago. We've had that for over a decade as well. And so out of pocket, you're talking about $7,500 for both vehicles, not including tires and, repairs and stuff like that. But we saved a great deal of money because of that. And for me personally, it makes sense because I only use my car to go to work, go to the grocery store, pick up some things from Woodcraft, and so on and so forth. We don't spend a lot of time in the car because, again, I'm 40 hours a week at work. And then, when you have younger kids and, we homeschool, we have a lot of responsibilities. So we're not really running the streets. So it doesn't make sense to be paying $1,000 or more a month just so people that I don't even know can see me driving a nice car. And there's plenty of newer cars that I've driven past on the road in this Saab or in my truck. And I just kind of shake my head because, some people are still paying payments on these vehicles that are broke down on the side of the road. And here it is. I've got away with over a decade of spending $7,500 for both of my cars. And I kind of want to stay in that same vein, in that same energy, and continue to keep the cost of my vehicles down as low as possible for as long as possible. I mean, I was, it's one of the reasons why I was considering, maybe some months ago, about getting a motorcycle, because of course you can buy a brand new motorcycle if you get like one of those small engine ones, like a 250cc, and put back and forth to work on something like that. You can probably get one for under 5-6 grand, which is the price of what I paid for my truck over a decade ago. But it would be brand new. It would have some degree of warranty, and you can go to and fro. Now, of course, when you drive in a motorcycle, if you can ride, that's not always the issue. The issue is, do the drivers around you, are they driving safely, or are they going to put you in harm's way? And of course, when you're a single income family and you have, a wife and children, it may not be the wisest thing to, buy a motorcycle, especially when you're now 50 years old and your response time is not what it was when you were in your 20s. And I have not ridden a motorcycle since, I want to say, 2008. So it's been a while. So, I mean, I have to give myself that grace and think about the fact that I might do something goofy and harm myself and then put us in a worse situation than we're in now. But since I've not been able to find any kind of cars on Craigslist or anywhere around here that I felt like were reasonable, and of course, I don't want to spend $5,000 for a car and be doing what you see me doing here, tinkering around on it right out the gate. I want a car that's, for the most part, turnkey and go. Now, I understand the economy is different. Everything is different around us. And, a lot of the newer cars are not lasting as long as older cars. And so that's why, another reason why I want to nurse the cars that I have right now as long as I possibly can. I don't see any reason to go into debt or to put myself in a bad situation economically simply because I want to drive a fancy car, or even a comparable car that that all I'm doing is going to and from work. I mean, I'm at the point right now. I was looking at getting an electric bicycle, the pedal assist, but out here in California, they've changed some laws in regards to that. So that may even be a sketchy thing. But things get too bad, I might end up just going to buy a Walmart bike and roughing it and riding a bike to and from work, because I'm really not a fan of paying these high prices just to survive. I mean, my wife just told me yesterday that from last week to this week, our food bill, buying the exact same items that we buy weekly, went up by $100, right? So obviously that cuts into whatever your budget is. If you have money set aside to save, or if you have allowances and so on and so forth, that money has to come from somewhere. So my wife opted to cut out some of the things that we would buy on a weekly basis as far as food is concerned. Not really like, not that you're going to starve yourself to do whatever, but I'm on a specific diet. I've been on a keto diet for the last 3 years, 20 grams of carbs a day. And I choose certain specific foods, like, because I live under budget. Oftentimes, just randomly, not for special occasions, I would go buy me a little, a couple pieces of filet mignon from like Costco or something and cook them up. That's probably going by the wayside. I usually eat like strawberries and blackberries, as that's my sweet that I would have, just a small portion, every day. And I would have like blueberries on the weekend. The strawberries and blackberries, that may go away, because it's not a requirement. It's just something that I would do to treat myself. But, when times get hard, you have to make changes and adjustments so that you can continue to maintain your life. The other day when I filled up my truck, it was like over $100. It was like $118. And that was filling from like maybe 3/4 of a tank. Things didn't used to be this high. But fortunately, coming up to now, we were always living so far below our means that it's given us a buffer. And I've been able to continue to build out my festival shop. I've been able to continue, but there's trade-offs, right? I'm not going to go out and buy a Conturo if I need another car. So, me getting my Contoro is based upon me being able to fix this car. And, that's just the way it is. So anyways, if you saw in the last video, I did fix the car, obviously. However, I ended up finding that there's a area in the drive shaft, the cross axle, and there's a seal, and it's leaking. And I have a strong feeling that if I take it into smog, that they're going to try to fail me for that. So now I have to go even deeper into the car to figure out how to repair that. And that is going to require, and when I was down there investigating, I realized I need 2 CV axles. So I ordered 2 CV axles. I ordered several seals because I'm not 100% sure what that seal is called, but I ordered a bunch of those, one from eBay, several from AutoZone. And I am currently in the process, which I'll upload some videos and footage of this, of me pulling the CV axles out and getting that done. So I've already pulled the right side out, but I'm now trying to figure out how to get that cross member from the bottom of the car out, and it looks like it's bolted onto the back of the engine, and I may have to take out the alternator, possibly the power steering pump, and all these different things just to get to this component to get it out. And that's one of the drawbacks to having an older vehicle. Of course, someone will just choose to pay $1,000 or more a month so that they can go out and turn the key and go wherever they need to go. But I would much rather, save that money. And just in this project right now, I've got several videos. I'm way behind on my video making, as you can see by the date of this video and the previous video. I'm behind. There's things that I purchased. There's things that I've done that, I want to share with you guys on, on my YouTube channel. But because I'm having to do everything and I'm doing everything real time, I am behind, right? And so I put up the video yesterday because that was the video I edited. On this, actually, this is the 22nd. On the 23rd is when I actually finished fixing the car. And then it was on the 23rd, that same day, I changed the spark plugs on my truck. And so I did a little bit of footage on that. So I'm going to upload that video and probably add a little bit of commentary with that. I don't know if I'm going to get that video done today or if I'm going to do it later, because right now I have the car broken down outside and I'm supposed to go work on that. And I was debating whether I was going to go back to pick and pull or whether I'm going to just work on the car here, because there's a lot of things that I'm going to be tackling that I've never tackled before. And so I'm kind of weighing my options. If I go to pick and pull and I'm removing parts, it's going to make me feel a lot more comfortable and make me feel like it's not a one and done. But then at the same time, if I'm working at home, I'm more comfortable in the environment of working at home. And that gives me the option to see if I do break something, I can go to pick and pull and possibly get that part off of that car that's still remaining on the lot. So we'll see. Anyways, guys, I just want to thank you for taking the time to listen to any of my videos. And yeah, I thank you guys for everything that you guys do. And I want to thank you for taking time to watch this video. I'll see you in my next one. And yeah, I'm out.